Hey guys, what's up? G-Tice here, up top. Respect. Peace. So I don't know about you guys, but the state of the world is stressing me out right now. And yeah, it's almost like somebody is really raising hell. As that terrible segue indicated, I'm going to be talking about the Hellraiser movies, one of them in particular. I'm going to be talking about Hellraiser III, Hell on Earth, because I finally got that big box set, and I just wanted to talk about that one because it seems like the one people talk about the least among those kind of early movies. I think everybody has written off Hellraiser as probably one of the most consistently bad kind of horror franchises, and I think people will point to 3 as where it started going downhill, which 3 is like pretty early for your franchise to start, you know, shitting the bed. And I'm really doing this video to ask one question. Why are you guys so mean? I don't know. I popped it in, really expecting something mediocre at best, but no, like at worst it's schlocky and laughable, and at best it's actually got some iconic performances. It's got some really awesome set pieces, and for some reason all I want to do right now is defend Hellraiser 3 from you savages. Now I like the first Hellraiser. I am one of those people though that finds that it's a little too sadistic for its own good. I do like some other movies where that you could accuse of sadism, but they always have like a formula and a structure. Like Saw, for a perfect example. No matter how gross that movie gets, I'm still always like really interested in Jigsaw, the character, right? And Hellraiser does have Pinhead, but if you see the first movie, not only does he barely have screen time, he just doesn't feel like a very important role. It doesn't feel like he's kind of this main player. It really does feel like he's just one of the Cenobites that stood out the most. And that's kind of confirmed to me because in the second movie, not only is, again, Pinhead's not really much of a presence, despite how great I think Doug Bradley is, but he's literally like killed in a really anticlimactic way, as if the filmmakers were saying, move along for this even cooler bad guy. That, of course, I think number 2 is when they realized how much of a fan favorite the Pinhead character was, because, you know, they rushed 2 into production and they didn't really have time to gauge audiences' reactions from the first movie, so they didn't really realize what they had with Pinhead, right? So they did realize that, thankfully, by the time they made number 3. Now, there's like some kind of controversial production history with the third movie. The director who had done the Waxwork movies, I don't think Clive Barker was happy when he was picked. I think he wanted the previous director. And sure, it's way goofier than Clive Barker's vision. I would argue there's unintentional goofiness to parts of the first 2 movies, but this is a time where they embraced certain kind of like almost cartoonish elements to it. Like the new Cenobites are like cartoon villains. And I realize I'm saying that about a movie that I'm trying to defend, but that element of it I definitely get. That's why a lot of people don't like this movie. A lot of fans don't like this movie. But the trade-off is you have Doug Bradley's, best performance as Pinhead. Like, he's finally unleashed. He's finally given the room, the breathing room, to develop this character and to take him to places that the first movie really kind of confined him.
This is my body. This is my blood. Happy are they who come to my supper.
That's not to say that he didn't have great lines in the original movies, but here I just feel like Doug Bradley really... Not the popo. Shit, the police are coming to arrest me for defending this movie. Yeah, but not that he didn't have great lines before, but it just feels like his kind of role in this overall story like changed dramatically for the better. I also think that we have, I'm not going to say a more likable protagonist, but there's something about the structure of this movie where we have a proactive protagonist played by the Star Trek lady, who I think does a really great job too. I know people really like Christy from the first movies, and she's fine, but this character really has a certain commanding presence to herself. I personally really like my horror movie characters to have that proactive kind of energy to them. Even if, you know, that means that they can come across stereotypical, you know, she is like a stereotype of a reporter archetype, you could say. But if we're going to be making a kind of schlocky B movie with all this like bizarre imagery, I think that is still a great anchor for your movie. And it, you know, I cared at least a little bit about her journey. There is this weird thing with the, okay, so Pinhead, we have the evil version of Pinhead, the actual Pinhead, but then we also get the good side of Pinhead, who he was in a previous life. He was a World War I officer, and I really do like that backstory. There's something very classic about it to me. It doesn't feel like a slasher movie, it feels more, I guess I'll call it literary, which makes sense because Hellraiser is one of the few slasher movies that started with a book by a really, you know, prolific author. The backstory I do like. It feels like a Deus Ex Machina to have the good side of Pinhead come back to kind of take care of business, and I'm not even going to try to dig into how any of that stuff works, like the mechanics or the logic of the story. Thematically it's okay, but it doesn't even make sense because at the end of the second movie, Pinhead remembers who he used to be, and right before he dies, it's kind of like he might actually want to turn back to the good side, you know? Like he's having a bit of a Darth Vader moment. And I'm sure they explained this in the movie, but honestly, all the exposition scenes were the hardest parts to get through. It's a really jumbled mythology. And the second movie really kind of put the nail in the coffin in terms of how convoluted all of the world building is to me. What else? Oh, the Hellraiser movies are really good at making creepy characters. Not like Cenobites, I'm talking like humans, people who are just unfathomably weird and disgusting, and there's an art to this in slasher movies, creating a character that is so hateable you can't wait to see them die, but not so obnoxious that you can't stand having them on screen. I'd say that's one of the main talents of the good slasher movie filmmaker, and it's all subjective, but I thought the bizarre weirdo psycho pervert they had in here, he did just the trick. I could not wait to see that guy get dismembered, and dismembered he was. It was beautiful. I'm not putting up like the best defense of this movie, I'm just saying it's like fun, it's a good time. Jokes aside, I'm glad that we have movies like this that can kind of take the edge off and actually provide real escapism at a time when the world is so bleak. Because if this is Hell, if this is what we all have to look forward to, I'd say it's fairly entertaining. I'd say I'd give Hell 3 out of 5 stars. You know, I'd say go out and rent it. So yeah, this to me is the most overhated of the Hellraiser movies. Not a franchise that I am super loyal to or invested in. Like, I don't get outraged at the thought of them not making a good Hellraiser movie. But the character of Pinhead really earned my respect for this one, and I do think it's a shame that Doug Bradley mostly had really bad scripts to go off of. So, if for nothing else, just watch this movie for Doug Bradley and some really memorable, you know, mayhem sequences. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Like if you want, subscribe if you want, and stay tuned for more content in the future.